Shalom. Kol halalim la abano Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, elder bishops of Great Millstone. Shalom to the prophets of thy body, and shalom to the 144,001 May peace and blessings be upon you and your households. We're going home soon, Yasharala. Hold on tight. If the Lord has given you the blessing of his name and his truth, and it's a balm upon your pain, you don't know how much of a barakim is to be an Israelite and to have the name, man. All right. And I always try to say this in every video. I urge you sincere Jakes, the one or two people that watch me around the world, to watch the videos around the world, I urge you to subscribe to the Men of the Lord, the Men of Great Millstone, from our apostles on down, GMS. All right. But nevertheless, how old is this news? 1 second. Sky News Australia, 7 days ago, right? Digital ID is essential for the United Nations push for a global surveillance state. Okay, now I was getting up some information online about how far Australia is. I chucked in how far is Australia in going completely digital. Excuse me. As always, every time I make a video, my throat goes drier. But I've got water next to me. Australia is in the early stages of a national ID. Australia is in the early stages of a national digital ID rollout, with the Digital ID Act 2024 commencing in November 2024 to establish a framework. The system is expected to be fully available by the end of 2025, though it will be voluntary for individuals. By the way, India is 100% mandatory. Okay, in other parts of the world as well. The system is expected to be fully available by the end of 2025, though it will be voluntary for individuals, and existing physical identification will remain valid. The implementation involves a phased approach with plans to integrate state and territory services, government programs like Centrelink and My Health Record, and eventually private businesses. Okay. This is their timeline from their point of view. We live day to day. ESO has a timeline for everything. By 2020, what I say here, by 2026, by December 2026, private sector entities will be able to apply to participate in the Australian government digital ID system. Key milestones and time. November 2024, the Digital Act. Late 2024, early 2025, initial pilots and rollout of the digital ID scheme, ID system. Basically, they're going to do trials, to see how things are working, what will work, what will not work. By the end of 2025, the system is expected to be fully available nationwide, allowing for greater convenience and security in online transactions with government and eventually private sector organizations. As Elder Apostle Tahar said, this thing is going to roll out quick, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Shai. It is going to roll out quick because people are catching on and they want to catch people while they are still so-called sleeping. Because there's a lot of people that are oblivious to this and feel that it's similar to, a new mobile phone coming out. It's just this technology. They don't realize how grave the situation is in terms of, because they just assume it's an option because they still have cash money. They can still withdraw from a cash point or a cash machine. Excuse me. Right? They can still use their debit card, have that, as well as maybe even use Apple Pay at the moment because the options are there. But very soon, those options won't be there. Just like India. India's probably like about a decade ahead, and it's mandatory over there. Okay. And in the UK, they've been signing petitions, right? 2 million plus signed, and they're saying it's dead in the water, but it's not dead in the water because Keir Starmer, right, is rolling out a veterans ID card to trial it with the soldiers or the ex-soldiers of the UK, right? which is basically the so-called first line of defense, right, with their soldiers to see if they will give in, right? So ultimately, this is going to happen regardless of how you feel, whether you go against them, you walk around with saying "Hell no, we don't want it" or whatever, shouting out slogans or walking around with placards and signs and shit. It's still going to go down because remember, this is the new world order. So all these countries have to coincide like a bunch of dominoes lined up. Boom, one country does it and they all follow suit because, you know, it's going to be, they're going to be, they're going to be what they're supposed to do or propose to do is maybe transact between each other at some point digitally. That's what they want to do. And they have total control. Okay. Movies like Minority Report let you know what they want to do, the thought police, and they're already arresting people for things like that, you know, okay? All these movies allude to it, but people think it's just entertainment, but they don't realize this shit's gonna get real, all right? They wanna be like the Most High. They wanna be all knowing, all seeing, CCTV cameras, facial biometric systems, which they've added into the UK as well. All right, so this thing is gonna go worldwide. Yesterday, I made a video covering India, the UK, Mexico, a couple other countries as well, because now this excellent news of Australia has come out. I'm going to play this segment. All right, let's go to the scripture first. All right, at the moment, they're saying it's mandatory. Sorry, it's voluntary at the moment. The same with the same thing with Sweden because it's voluntary at the moment. I also typed in here. Um, Is Sweden 100% digital and everybody has a CHIP in the hand? No, Sweden is not 100% digital and not everyone has a microchip. While the country has a very advanced digital economy, yes, they do, and is leading the trend toward a cashless society, with most transactions being digital, about 10% of purchases are still made with cash, and only a small number of people have voluntarily had microchips implanted in their hands for convenience. This is the angle they're going to use: convenience, safety, security. All right? And a lot of people will take it because the Lord is definitely not dealing with a heathen, right? And also the Lord ain't dealing with the 2/3 as well. That's why a lot of Jacob taking the CHIP because they just believe that it's just, you know, we're going to live in a Jetsons type of world. Those of you that are familiar with the cartoon, the Jetsons, right? They just feel that okay, we're in 2025. We're in a very technological, advanced society. Hence the reason things have to change. Okay, from no mobile phones to one phone in the house to 3, 4 phones in the house, mobile phones to one TV in the house, like back in the day, to 4 or 5 TVs in the house, you know? So the way they see it is just advancement, okay? And this is all being done through gradualism. And Esau's going to use trial and error, okay? They love to study things, all right? They look at you as just the way they study mice and animals when they do experiments on them. They're studying the population and different ethnicities, especially you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives, how you react to the situation. All right, and they've got agents everywhere. They're everywhere. Okay. Okay. Digital economy and cashless society, nearly cashless. About 90% of in-store purchases were digital in 2023, with cash use continuing to decline significantly. So basically, 90% is all digital in Sweden. Mobile payments and cards, car payments and mobile payments, particularly via apps like Swish, are the most common methods. Cash remains. Around 10% of purchases are still made with cash. Okay, now here's the one we're talking about. Okay, the CHIP plants. Okay, voluntary adoption. A small number of people have voluntarily had micro CHIPs implanted in their hands for convenience, such as for accessing buildings, using vending machines, or making payments. All right, and this is a niche technology. They've got the technology involved. They're not going to say they've got everything at the moment. They're going to say, "Oh, we're just trialing it at the moment." All right, over a short period of time, they're going to do it. Okay, with all the people bitching and moaning about having no money, living from day to day. I mean, Slovakia, living from paycheck to paycheck and picking and choosing whether they're going to feed themselves or their dog or cat is going to get real out here. And when people are pushed into a corner and they're saying, "No, I'm not going to take the, I'm not going to take I don't want to go digital," and when it goes to the mark of the BEAST, which a lot of even a lot of people know about, they're not going to take it, but they will take it because they've got to feed themselves. All right, they've got to feed their families. And obviously, if they're heathens, they don't have the covering of Yahweh Hashem Rashai. If they're two-thirds or the unelect Israelites, they don't have the covering of Yahweh Hashem Rashai. So the Lord ain't going to provide for them. So they will take it. And a lot of people will take it. All right? When push comes to shove, because right now they've got a few quid and they can buy a few things here and there. But when push comes to shove, they will take it. All right? And the internet will only give you certain points of information. Remember, the internet is controlled by them as well. They'll give you half the information. All right, and the other half, which is the real information, will come out. Uh, by there'll be a video somewhere on the on the internet highway, which will be found by hopeful elect or elect members to know what time it is. Because there's a lot of insiders bringing out the truth as well. Okay. What's this? Oh yeah. Also typed in which country. Right. Let me read a scripture, man. 1 Thessalonians 5:3. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. All right. And sudden destruction could be physically, right? It could be destruction in many forms, all right? But this is going to be complete destruction, all right? Imploding, exploding, the financial infrastructure crashing down, as well as violence, all right? Okay? So this is a form of destruction as well, all right? So a lot of people will not escape this, all right? Because right now they're saying it's voluntary, all right? But very soon it's going to be mandatory. Then when the crash happens, when there's no money anymore, and it's going to be, whatever the new currency will be called, maybe it'll be a one currency worldwide. I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe it'll be individual currencies. Then eventually from individual currencies from countries, there'll be one world currency, right? But Esau's not going to get to that point anyway, because the Lord will intervene, all right? We don't know how they're going to do it. But when that destruction comes, right? Because right now you're in a place of comfort where you can't say, "Nah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it," like a lot of these crackers and heathens do, and two-thirds. But they will do it when push comes to shove, right? Revelation 12 verse 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. There is great wrath. No jobs, no money, The atmosphere is grey, dingy, no life in the streets. Motherfuckers got grey faces and shit, walking around, People walk around with their robes and pajamas on during the day. You got these youngsters, these children, man. Back in the day when we were young, you wanted to just make sure that you were showered up fresh, trousers ironed or whatever, your sneakers clean, get the toothbrush out, chop on your father's cologne or whatever, and try and get the women. These people don't even give a shit at how they look. They don't even run a comb through their hair, let alone damn shower. They walk around like they got out of bed with robes on and pajamas and walk into this corner store with their flip flops on or Crocs. Very, 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 what's the word? Regressive world. Okay. We're going backwards. Well, these people are anyway. Jake is going forward, right? We're in a we're in a world like it looks like it's shutting down. because the Lord is squeezing the life out of it. All right? And that wrath that you see in movies and what they're talking about in the news is going to be here in your face real soon. All right? Because these people are going to get down. They're not going to play. Once that button is pushed by Yahweh Shemashai on the left-hand side, these soldiers are going to get down, man. People are having dreams about World War III drafts, youngsters being brought in, you know. It's going to get real out here, man. There's so much going on. Sometimes you don't even know where to pinpoint. Say, whoa, it's like an overwhelming wave of information. Rakti Shemashai, man. This is a beautiful thing. Oh, yeah. This is what I was going to get to. I said, in terms of digital ID, which country in the world is way ahead of everybody else? Estonia, Estonia is widely considered to be ahead of other countries in digital ID with highly developed and integrated e-government system that allows citizens to access almost all government services online, vote and sign documents digitally. Other countries with advanced digital ID systems include Denmark, right? And India, which also offer comprehensive services through their national digital identities. Estonia, Denmark, India, Ukraine, Singapore, and China. Right? I'm surprised Sweden ain't mentioned because they were the only country that wasn't on lockdown during the 1.9 thing. Let me type in Denmark. Are a lot of people in Denmark getting voluntarily chipped with the RFID? There you go. No, Denmark does not have a lot of people getting chipped with RFID, but neighboring, like we all talked about, Sweden, Sweden does, While the practice is growing in Sweden, particularly among tech-savvy individuals, Denmark has a much lower adoption rate for the technology. All right. And we've seen videos of this. Thousands of Swedes are inserting C-hips under their skin. That was 2018. How much more now? I'm not going to play that. I've already made videos on that anyway. So let's go to the Australia part. Where's that video? Oh, yeah, here we go.
Last week on Outsiders, I mentioned the threat posed to your freedom, and more importantly, the terrifying threat posed to your children's and your grandchildren's future freedoms by a possible...
Excuse me. That's probably coming loud on the mic. I apologize. Sorry about that.
Government-imposed digital ID. Here's digital ID opponent Whitney Webb warning that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, are desperate for public-private partnerships linked to digital IDs.
Essentially, what this public-private partnership that the WEF is pushing for is for every person's access to the internet to be tied to a digital ID or a government-issued ID, but presumably a digital.
That's why if you notice that on LinkedIn, if you use LinkedIn, to apply for jobs in the past or whatever, or if you use what's the other one, Twitter, yeah, they want you to prove your ID, because when you prove your identification, you get greater access, don't you? When you're part of the team, as they say, you get all the goodies, and this is how it's going to be in greater form in the near future, very soon too. It could be months away, Lord willing, where people will have to be, you got to pay to play, as they say, meaning that in this case, you'll have to, literally give up your soul to be part of this world. And, those of you that take the C-hip, you don't, especially you Israelites, you won't belong to Yahweh Shemashai no more because you've been penetrated and by somebody else. When the elect belong to Yahweh Shemashai, you 2/3 don't, but nevertheless, even if you're Israelites, you take it, it's over for you. But the heathen, they're going to take it anyway because this is their world and a lot of them know it and they're going to take it and they want to hold on to what they have, especially you rich heathens.
Digital ID, just because of where government-issued ID programs are all going essentially around the world.
Now, many skeptics warn that a digital ID is the end of democracy as we know it and an irreversible step into a dystopian future of firstly no cash, just a digital currency controlled by governments, potentially leading to a Chinese style social credit system where government has the ability to control and restrict every single aspect of your lives, from where you go, how you travel, your health care, what you eat, control over your spending habits, a veto over your job prospects, and so on. Here's digital ID and digital currency skeptic and former Wall Street investment banker, by the way, so she knows of what she speaks, Catherine Austin Fitz.
Programmable money doesn't click in and work well unless you've got everybody on the grid. You need to be able to track them. You need to be able to watch their behavior. You need to be able to influence their behavior. And then you've got complete control. And that is not just wearables. That is not just an internet of bodies. That is a coup d'etat. That is the end of human liberty in the West.
On your screen is the World Economic Forum's graph on
End of human liberty in the West. Oh yeah, there's something else I want to show you as well.
on how a digital ID is central to controlling every part of an individual's life. Financial services, food and sustainability, travel and mobility, e-commerce, social media and telecommunications, it's all there. And of course, every aspect of your healthcare. And what would that look like? Here's CEO of Pfizer speaking not long ago at the World Economic Forum, the WEF, for example, boasting about the latest pharmaceutical digital technology.
Basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet.
Are they kidding? Digital ID schemes potentially give absolute powers of surveillance and control over every aspect of your life.
See, they're talking about a CHIP tablet that you take, you consume the tablet, and it's in your system. And I'm assuming with the technology in there, like in the movie, what was that movie called again, man? The Matrix, when they had, I believe, it's been a while since I've seen it, when they had Keanu Reeves, they had to pull the, I think the CHIP out, or whatever the tracking thing was in the system. Because it was like, I believe if you take this tablet, I'm assuming the CHIP will have some kind of technology in it where it could swim around in your body and just lodge into some kind of, I'm not a, science person or whatever. I'm assuming that the CHIP will sort of connect to a vital organ or part of the body, and it will just sort of like just get its hooks into it, because you'll have the technology and the advanced technology to sort of creep around within your body to find a space where it could sort of like lock in, and then it'll be like a host, where the powers that be can control you. A lot of people have had dreams where people are walking around with blank looks on their face and kind of walking around like lifeless zombies, but their eyes are open, but they're walking around. Because ESO can release some kind of drug in your system as well, where they could keep you in some kind of dream mode. I don't know. Okay, but a lot of it's going towards, because if you watch these movies about people being controlled and taking the CHIP, you see the people that have taken it and the people that don't take it. They usually show the people that have taken it, they're being controlled and they're in some kind of they're like basically like a radio controlled car. They're being controlled and they always got like a sort of blank look on their face or a permanent smile, demonic smile, but they're lifeless. Like in the movie Upgrade, where at the end the AI took over because that guy was C-hipped. The same same kind of thing.
To unelected bureaucrats, unscrupulous politicians, and greedy.
So people that are afraid of needles, okay, there's a solution for them. So ESO thinking about everything. People that are afraid of needles, give them a tablet. People that are not afraid of needles, those weirdos with their earlobes stretched out or tattoos up the yin yang and septum rings, they can say, okay, yeah, they can take the penetration. Either way, it's penetration because you've given yourself to the beast.
governments and corporations. If you don't think future authoritarian governments of whatever persuasion won't use these powers ruthlessly and mercilessly, then you must have been fast asleep during COVID QR codes and vaccine mandates. According to an opinion piece in LifeSite News, the reality of digital identity is not about curbing illegal immigration. It has nothing to do with securing jobs, and it most certainly isn't meant to protect youth online. They say digital ID is the linchpin of the United Nations push for a global surveillance state. Indeed, Australia was one of 193 countries that signed up last year under Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese to the United Nations insidious Pact for the Future, a non-binding pact which says signatory countries will, quote, develop and decide on a set of safeguards for inclusive, responsible, safe, secure, and user-centered digital public infrastructure that can be implemented in different contexts, end of quote. The Chinese mouthpiece, the Global Times, praised the pact, which should be reason enough in itself to run a mile from it. Gushing, quote, as we enter a new era, we face the significant question of what kind of a world we should build and how to build it, end of quote. China has provided an answer, constructing a community with a shared future for mankind, end of quote. Okay, well, we've seen that future that China is so keen to impose on the rest of us, and it's an absolute horror show.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens. The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date.
Aman Jabi is a former Silicon Valley video and camera design whiz kid. He's now turned whistleblower on the dangers of where big tech, along with big government, want to take us.
Facial recognition will be used to unlock your digital identity, which is going to be a tool of control for the agendas that are coming down the pipeline.
Elements of that control are already with us.
Alexa, good morning. Good morning.
You are never alone in your home, and this is why. All your devices at home and all smart appliances, they are all connected on a wireless network. When you leave your home, all modern vehicles are connected to the internet, so your automobile is being tracked all the time. When you're going under a string of smart LED poles and smart LED lights on the highway and in the streets of your towns and cities, those form a wireless network and are tracking your vehicle. They're tracking all the devices on you, from smartphones to smartwatches when you're walking on the streets. So data is being collected 24/7 continuously on every human being whenever you are within these wireless networks.
If Aman Jabi is correct, much of the dystopian technology to track and surveil us is already in place, like he says. And some, but not all of it, we have willingly adopted for ease and convenience. Fair enough. But is it relatively benign when the data being connected remains solely in the hands of the companies who provided it? Although, as we have repeatedly seen, most recently with Qantas, mass data breaches and thefts do occur, with often very damaging results to individuals' privacy and indeed to their finances. But that is all child's play if you then introduce a government digital ID. Suddenly, Canberra bureaucrats, the sort who don't even know what a woman is, have the potential to have absolute power over you. And freedom is quickly a thing of the past. Here's Aman again.
In the long term, the plan is to pretty much lock up humanity in smart cities, which is kind of a superset of a 15-minute city. They've sold all the state and local governments and countries that smart cities are about sustainability and the good of the city. But in reality, the language from the UN and WEF and their white papers is all inverted. It's surveillance Control via LED grid is why the smart lighting is death. Water management is about water rationing, noise pollution is about speech surveillance, traffic monitoring is about limiting mobility, and then, of course, energy conservation is all about rationing heat, electricity, and gasoline.
Here in Australia, the E-Safety Commissioner, a good friend, by the way, of the World Economic Forum, the WEF, is soon to announce how her under-16 social media ban will be enforced. Albo and co have been wandering around boasting how impressed the United Nations were by Australia's plans. Over in Europe, the EU are inspired by Albo's under-16 social media idea ban. I'll bet they are. And reason enough to be already deeply concerned. But my suspicion and fear is that the under-16 ban, supported, by the way, by the treacherous bedwetters of the Liberal Party, is the Trojan horse to introduce digital ID by stealth. Keir Starmer is currently trying to introduce...
What's a Trojan horse? Let's go there. What is a Trojan horse? Trojan is a type of malware that disguises itself as a legitimate program to trick users into installing it. Okay, that's a good analogy. You can use that. Okay, how it works. How it works. Okay, let's just use this in terms of the CHIP, or everything going digital. How it works. A Trojan horse. A Trojan appears as a useful or harmless application. All right, it's not mandatory. It's voluntary at the moment, right? So it's harmless at the moment. So we you know, that's what they're trying to push it as. They're trying to push it as secure, seamless, easier. Things get done quicker. You know, people don't have to dig for utility bills or electricity bills or identification forms. You know, if you haven't gone abroad for about 10, 15 years or whatever, you're trying to find your passport or renewing your passport or whatever. Everything is digital. They're trying to push that. Okay. How it works. A Trojan appears as a useful or harmless application such as a game, utility, or document when the user runs a program the hidden malicious code executes in the background. All right. Let's go to the historical origin. The name comes from the ancient Greek legend of the Trojan horse, where the Greek soldiers hid inside a giant wooden horse to gain entry into the city of Troy. All right. Okay, so this is basically, they're going to disguise everything in many forms, right? You know, youngsters won't have access to certain platforms and Twitter, or, you know, even people that even watch the explicit stuff online. You're going to need to prove your identity to view it, right? And a lot of people will go along with it because, number one, they want to watch it, and number two, the way they see it is that's what they're going to do to get what they need, and they will do it. You know, it's like a crackhead or a heroin addict. They need their fix. When they need their fix, they'll do anything to acquire that fix. That's why a lot of women back in the day when they were young and beautiful, they would say, I would never do drugs. I will never sell my body. And lo and behold, many years later, they're heroin addicts and they're selling their body. And even sometimes women selling themselves to the same sex women, right? And even men selling themselves to faggots and stuff like that. It's foul, but that's the way this evil world is, right? The same thing's going to happen in this case. Well, a lot of people are saying that they won't do it or they won't take it. You know, they'll fall into that trap. It's a trap. It's a snare, right? It's a trap and a snare because they want to know what you're watching as well online. What kind of videos are you watching? Where's your mindset at? What are you watching on Twitter? Are you watching Black Power stuff, Latino power, Native Indian power, Israelite power? You know, those kinds of videos, political stuff, what kind of comments you're making. They want to know. All right. So that was just beginning stages. Introduce
the UK's digital ID by making it mandatory if you want to work and pretending it will solve Britain's immigration problems.
You got Keir Starmer there with a Bollywood actress. She used to be a Bollywood actress back in the day. Forgot her name. She was not bad when she was younger, but she's probably like in her 50s now. She doesn't look bad for her 50s. Yeah, you got Bollywood. He's in India there, right? It's the same thing in Hollywood as well. When all the famous people, MPs, politicians all roll together, man, at these parties. Same sort of thing, man. Taking pictures with your eye covered, one eye covered, the pyramid symbol, all that kind of shit. That's a, that's a new world order within the so-called elites of this world as well. They're all connected, hooked up, when they all go to these weird parties, that eyes wide shut thing.
Britain's immigration problems. The public aren't buying it. But what could be a better way to trick the public into getting a digital ID than by linking it to restricting under 16-year-olds from social media?
And under 16-year-olds are who? Gen Zs. They were born with a damn mobile phone in their hand. Okay? You show them videos of 30 years ago watching a show like, I don't know, old shows, with the old dial phone, I forgot what you call it, where you used to like put your finger in the dial and say, I'm going to call this number O, then 2, then O, and it took time to, to make a call, it took a few seconds to dial the number, a few seconds for it to connect. And there's only one phone in the house, VHS recorders, VHS tapes, even CDs. Everything is digital to these youngsters. Everything. They look at you like you've got 3 heads. If you say, oh, yeah, play this CD. No, I don't want to play a CD. I've got everything on my phone. I use Apple Music. They'll take it because they're addicted to social media. They're not really outside like that or playing sports or, you don't see these youngsters out and about with their girlfriends or whatever. Boy out, with his girlfriend or whatever. They're just sitting indoors. And if they're outside, they're wearing their pajamas and they're smoking. What's that stuff called? They're vaping. They're vaping. That's what they're doing. Or smoking weed or whatever drug they do. So they'll definitely take it. First in line.
To restrict, better way to trick the public into getting a digital ID than by linking it to restricting under 16-year-olds from social media. Suddenly,
and plus also the parents, if their children get addicted to that, and then especially in the UK, you got to be 16 to have physical relations. If you're a young lad, if you're a young girl, a young lad who's 16, a girl who's 16 can get down in the bedroom, right? So I don't know how it will be, and I'm sure the powers that be will probably allow these youngsters to go out on their own and get C-hipped as well when that time comes. So if these youngsters get C-hipped, some of the parents that are not really in the know of the spiritual side, especially if they're heathens, right, or unelected Israelites, they will take it also. Because they'll say, okay, our children have taken it. We love our children. So whatever happens to my children, I want to be there for them. So they'll take it as well. There's so many angles to this, so many avenues where they can push someone into a corner to take it, to go along with it. All right? Because in this just 10 minutes and 19-second video, he's touched on the C-HIP in a tablet form, surveillance, freedom, the World Economic Forum, different countries, Keir Starmer in India, Australia, the UK making it mandatory to even work, all that kind of stuff. This, he's coming out with a lot of information.
You're doing the right thing for the kids. And don't worry if it's a tad inconvenient. What with facial recognition and stuff, you'll soon get used to it.
I believe that over time, facial age estimation, liveness tests, and other forms of age assurance will become normalized as well. Different people at different ages will have different levels of comfort with things like taking selfies or using biometrics or even digital ID. It really varies.
The E-Safety Commissioner is about to announce how Australia intends to implement its under 16 social media restrictions. If you hear the words digital, identification, biometrics, or facial recognition, you know the fix is in. Surrender to a digital ID and surrender your children's freedom.
Well, nice way to end the segment there. Okay. There's another video I want to play as well. Where is it? Okay. Nope, that's not the one. The cost of living. Okay, I want to play a little bit of this. All right, so this is going to push a lot of people into a corner as well, where they will take the C-hip. Let's go. By the way, copyright fair use all the way straight through. I'm not making no money out of it. I agree with what you're saying. All right, I'm just putting a collage of videos together to emphasize the fact of what you're stating even more, even further.
Whatever. A lot of situations.
Even the UK.
So I'm gonna have a little rant about the London housing situation because I lost my apartment and whatever. A lot of the
Okay, now what she's going to say is that she's going to say that some landlords are asking for 6 months to a year's worth of rent up front. 6 months to a year's worth of rent up front, anything from 18 to 25,000 pounds. You know. Now, a lot of these youngsters don't have that kind of money. If they did, don't you think they would buy their own place, maybe get a mortgage? You know, because sometimes mortgages are a little bit less than paying rent. You know, but this is the angle they're coming with. You know, to put pressure even more further on individuals. I mean, ultimately, how Bashir Shah is doing it to crush this place, man. Let's go.
places that I've lost, like I lost my apartment and whatever. A lot of the places that I've lost, like I wasn't selected to be the tenant, was because other people were putting up to 1 year, sometimes just 6 months, definitely over the asking price, but 6 months to a year's worth of rent up front. I feel like the average rent is like, let's say £1,800 a month times 10. Let's say that's between 18,000 to what, 25,000 pounds, just cash ready to send off. And even if you do have that money, I don't, but if you do, I feel like you have to even like exorbitant amount of money, because then you're like able to just like put it up front and then still be able to like live and like pay your bills, and does it completely just like deplete your savings. And I just feel like, why are we in a point in the rental marketplace that like in order to find a place to live, which is like a basic need, like in a nice area, like that's not, super dangerous, and like has access to like public transportation, has like a grocery store nearby, has like a green space nearby, you have to be ready to put up front £15,000 to £25,000 in order to be a competitive applicant. Save race, save all these other external variables. Like just like think about applicant to applicant financially. How is that normal? How, like, as a regular person, I just don't I think it's so maddening that like in order to have a basic need met in a major city, you need to be able to put up that amount of money, like to be a competitive applicant to a landlord. Like, how do we get here? Fingers crossed it's going to work out for me. And I know that there's a reason why I haven't been selected for all these apartments. Like, God is preparing me for the perfect spot that's meant for me. But like, it's still really frustrating that is kind of where we're at. And I don't know if it's like that in any other city in the world, but like, do better, London.
If you live in the UK, I do not know how you're supposed to survive right now. I really don't. So I've just gone to Sainsbury's, right? And I know people are like, oh, you can go to Aldi.
Sainsbury's is like a store here, food store. Aldi's is also a food store. Tesco's. You might hear this in a lot of British videos. These are like, basically like it's a store that has your frozen, your veg, a large store that pretty much covers everything. Your liquor, it's like kind of like all right.
I've been in Aldi, and either the food goes off quicker, not all of it, but some of it, or it's the same price, because Sainsbury's are price matching Aldi at the moment. It's my place to go. I know where everything is. It's not bargain basement, but I don't think anything is bargain basement now. And I refuse to eat shit. Like, I just refuse to, like, fill my freezer with shit that is.
Well, the food you're buying is shit anyway. You want to use that term. It's your world. I mean, she looks like an Edomite woman. Probably is. Okay, you Edom. This is your world, Esau, and you've been eating the same stuff for the most part as we Israelites do. Okay. Let's go to here first. Ezekiel 4:13. And the Lord Yahweh Shemashai said, even thus the children of Israel shall Salakah. And the Lord Yahweh Shemashai said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Okay? The defiled bread. Okay, we don't know what it is. Some of these food items don't even go off. It doesn't go green, doesn't get any mold on it because it's not real. Okay? The same way what was that? They print guns. They print all these items. They print food also. Okay, you don't know what they're using in these food. That's a reason why a lot of you people can't go to the bathroom. You go to the supermarket, and I just always go there just to check out the what do you call it? The laxative area, just to see. And it's always empty because people are actually buying all that shit because people can't empty their bowels because what you're eating is not real. You know, Esau taking all the fiber out of foods, replacing it with poison. That's why a lot of you are ill. You have to keep visiting the doctor, which in turn fuels the medical world so they can make more money. Right? The prices have been risen. The prices have doubled, in fact, to get prescription medication. All right. Unless you're on some kind of benefit, then it's free. But prices have risen for your average person that even has a job that doesn't pay so well. All right. It's a perpetual cycle of hell. All right. People go crazy. Crime occurs. People are poor. Crime occurs. You know, people have had enough. They crash out. Crime occurs, and that fuels the police force. You know, they have a job to do. So forth and so on. It's a cycle of hell. All right. She's saying people can't afford to take care of themselves. You had Eve there at the start. You know, a semi-attractive lady at the beginning. You know, talking about putting up money up front. You know, Haggai 1:6. Ye have so much and bring a little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Now, these people that are here in this situation are perfect candidates. Where is that video again? I had it, man. All right. These people are perfect candidates. All right, to take the charagma. They will all go digital. And eventually, once they get used to being all digital, Esau, the so-called white man, will do something to push everybody into a corner again. So they take the CHIP. Those that they may be squeamish, they might give you a tablet because you don't like needles. Those of you that are not squeamish with needles, you know, they'll penetrate you with they'll penetrate you and they'll inject you with the CHIP into your hand. Revelation 13:16.
Bad for my kids. So don't even get started in the comments on that. That's not the point. The point of this is I've just gone and done a shop for me and my daughter for 3 days. That's it. Just to last us till the end of the bank holiday weekend. And all I have bought is dinners, breakfast cereal, and soup for lunch. So I haven't pushed the boat out. There's no snacks in there. All right, I needed some toothpaste and deodorant, right? But that's normal. That's what you need to live. You need to be able to brush your teeth and you don't want to smell. Even with the discounts, nectar discounts, all the rest of it, 3 days is 57 quid. And for somebody that wants to justify that, just don't even bother. Because not that long ago, there were 3 of us. And I used to shop for 3 of us. And I used to buy branded shit because he wouldn't eat the non-branded shit. And I would do a full week's shopping. I was on a protein diet, so I was buying lots of protein, tins of tuna, chicken, eggs, you name it, it went in the basket. And that would cost me 130 quid to feed 3 people for a week. And less than 3 years later, I can't even get through the absolute basics. People always ring at the most inappropriate time. I'm having a rant here. And that was nearly £60. Nearly £60. So if we math that out, that's 120 for 2 people, plus another day, and that doesn't include any of the other stuff that I used to buy, which were cleaning products, like laundry stuff, toiletries, like you name it, on like eye level shelf, because that's how they price things. If you don't know, go down the bottom if you want the cheap shit. It's on the floor. They don't want you to find it. What is going on? What is going on? How are we supposed to survive this? Our wages haven't gone up that way. Like, I just don't know how. I've got 1 kid, like 1. What if you've got 3 or 4 children? Like, what are you eating? Where are you shopping? Are you growing your...
Yeah. Well, they're going to be candidates for the Karagma. Okay. This is how they're doing it. This is how they want to get the world under complete control. Is taking away your necessities, your nutrition, your optimism, your financial freedom. They want to take all that away. And a lot of people have had dreams and visions of people that are traveling the world, jet setting, doing their thing because they've taken the CHIP. But the people that didn't take it, they were in these environments like what you call the projects in America, where they were kept in that sort of kind of like an arena type situation. Okay, they were separated from the rest of the world that had the Karagma, the CHIP. All right, so it's coming, man. Individuals like this will be candidates for it.
Your own food? Like, what is going on? It is utter mad.
I was looking at houses today to rent, and I cannot believe prices for some of these properties. Like, I'm not being funny. Who on earth is paying £1,000 a month for a 3-bedroomed mid-terrace property in a really rough area? Like, who's even paying that? Like, that is absolutely ridiculous money. An absolute joke. Like, for something decent, i.e. a 3-bed semi, you're going to be looking at least £1,200-1,300 where I am. And that's for like a decent area next to my son's school.
All right, so I've got the idea there. Haggai 1 and 6. Let's read Haggai 1 and 6 again. Haggai 1 and 6. Ye have sown much and bring a little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. Okay? So these devils are going to do what they're going to do to put the world into a chokehold. All right? Where you see no avenue, no light at the end of the tunnel. And then Esau comes with a light. You know, because remember, Satan will come as an angel of light also. All right? And you people are going to think that this is the remedy for the situation that they're in, not knowing, you know, it's a Trojan horse. You think it's a remedy, but then what happens? You've been tricked. You know, some people willingly will do it. Some people will be pushed into doing it, and some people will be tricked into doing it because, you know, that was their lot. All right, so it's coming, and it's going to come sooner than you think. All praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Kodash. By the way, Shalom Pawakar this Saturday morning, 5:56, October the 18th. Another 2.5 months left. This year is done. Anyway, all praise to Yahweh Shalom.